Do you like walking sharks? Because that's what we're going to be talking about on today's episode of the Beyond Jaws podcast. We have PhD candidate Jess Blakeway, who is on the podcast today to talk about these sharks that can walk. This is a fascinating species that has been the topic of choice for a lot of different Shark Week shows and I think National Geographic shows and Shark Fest and all these kind of things. And they're always interesting because look, it's a walking shark and it's a small shark and we're learning a lot about them. And so much so that Jess always has this knack or seems to have this knack of finding new ones and where they not normally found. So we're going to be talking about that on today's episode. So let's get started with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Beyond Jaws podcast. I'm your co-host, Andrew Lewin, here with my co-host, Dr. David Ebert. Dave, are you excited about walking sharks? Is this something that really gets you going?
Oh yeah, these are really, I've never actually seen them in the wild like this. So I'm super excited to hear about this story here.
Yeah.
And they're really cool, pretty little sharks. They walk. I mean, right there, they're kind of really
neat. That's cool too.
But the fact they have such narrow distributions in that whole Northern Territory and Papua New Guinea area, and there's like 10, we'll find out today, like 10 species there. And Jess discovered one of them. And it sounds like every time they bring her in the field, she's finding something new out there. So if you listen to the episode, you'll find out what we're talking about. And I also thought it was pretty cool that we had actually, we'll mention here, we actually previously invited Christine Dudgeon, who is her professor, onto the show. And coincidentally, after we'd invited her, we saw this new species she named after her professor. And we thought, well, we got to have her come on.
Got to have her
talk
on
about this. So
absolutely.
Anyway, the fascinating discussion is really cool. You're a young PhD student who's just finishing up now, and she has a great story, and we're definitely going to have her back on to talk more about it.
To get the full story. This was more of a bonus episode to introduce the walking sharks. We haven't really had them on the podcast before. And this is going to be a lot of fun talking about a lot of places in Papua New Guinea. I highly suggest if you're watching this on YouTube, you open up a Google Maps tab and then start looking around to familiarize yourself with it, because there's a lot of names that get thrown out, which I think was a lot of fun. I was actually looking at it while she was talking about it, just to see if I can find where we were, but it's really cool. And we also find out, Dave, what's the real common name? Is it a zebra fish or is it zebra or leopard shark?
Zebra or leopard shark? That's the ongoing question.
That's the ongoing question.
And we are going to discuss that.
Yeah, we're going to discuss that in this episode. So why don't we just start? Here's the interview with Jess Blakeway talking about zebra/leopard sharks and walking sharks. Enjoy, and we'll talk to you after. Hey, Jess, welcome to the Beyond Jaws podcast. Are you ready to talk about leopard sharks, I think is what we call them? Are you ready to talk about these wonderful animals?
I sure am.
All right.
Well, welcome to the Beyond Jaws podcast. And today we have a terrific first-time guest on our show. We have Jessica Ann Blakeway, who's a PhD candidate at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Her research focuses on the distribution, ecology, and biology of walking sharks, Hemiscyllium, in Papua New Guinea, with the primary focus on the species found in the Milne Bay province. Probably pronounced that wrong, but she'll correct me later. And she leads a multi-year research project to assess the distributional limits of walking shark species whilst collecting ecological and biological baseline data to address critical knowledge gaps. And if you don't know, we'll cover today, this Papua New Guinea has an amazing array of these walking sharks that are found nowhere else in the world. So we'll definitely get into that. Her project is a collaborative effort with local communities, NGOs, and international researchers. Her research integrates genetic analysis to better understand species boundaries and within species population structures. Working alongside the Conflict Islands Conservation Initiative, she also investigates reproductive patterns and spatial use to inform long-term conservation strategies. Jess recently described the new species of walking shark, Hemiscyllium dudgeoni. And if dudgeoni sounds familiar to you, it's a species she named after her one of her advisors, Dr. Christine Dudgeon, who not coincidentally is going to be our next guest on the Beyond Jaws podcast. But we haven't told anybody yet, so shh, that Christine doesn't know. And Jess's research directly informs conservation planning and policy, and includes contributions to the important shark and ray area program. And also she contributed to IUCN Red List assessments. She has extensive experience in marine conservation, field-based research, project management, and scientific communication. She has led remote field expeditions in logistically complex regions and regularly presents research findings to stakeholders and government agencies. She, as I said, she's currently doing her PhD at the University of the Sunshine Coast, but she did a BSc with honors at Deakin University and her BSc at Murdoch University. And with that, Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a long list.
It's a long list of accomplishments at such a young age. That's amazing.
I know, it's amazing. So how did you get interested in sharks in the marine environment?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Tasmania, where I currently live.
Tasmania.
But yeah, well, sort of. Born in WA, but grown up in Tassie. So
okay.
I grew up going out on the boat with my dad, and he used to work with the dive shop down in Eagle Hawk Neck.
Okay.
So I've been around diving in the ocean since a young age, and that's kind of where it all stemmed from. There was a little moment there where I almost thought I might go into law, but I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, so just basically growing up in a beautiful part of the world and being inspired to be in the water all the time, learning how to dive at about 15, and then got hooked since then.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Like, you know, when a lot of people here, I live in Canada, you know, Dave lives in the US. So here in the Western part of the world, when we think of, you know, Australia and diving, we think of the Great Barrier Reef. You know, I know Tasmania is a lot different. What, like, to dive in Tasmania, what could one expect other than Neil the seal, apparently, who likes to...
Yes, Neil the seal has been around lately. He actually lives right near my mother-in-law when he's in Tassie, which is quite funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. No, diving in Tassie is definitely not coral reefs. We're quite temperate, pretty cold. Last time I went diving, it was actually 13 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So very chilly. But yeah, it's mostly kelps and that sort of thing. But yeah, we've got, in terms of elasmobranchs, we get some bigger bull rays. We get, you know, the, oh my God, my brain just stopped working.
There's just so many to think about, you know.
We get Port Jackson sharks and all of those more temperate species, which is really nice. You know, we do get some of the bigger bitey ones, but so far, luckily, I haven't seen them on my diving. I think that would be a little bit nerve-wracking diving. But yeah, we get like lots of crayfish and abalone and all of that down here as well. Yeah.
I think that's my favorite scientific description is the bitey ones.
The bitey ones.
Yes.
Yeah. So you went there. So you're in Tasmania, obviously, and you went, which has a good program, the University of Tasmania, and a lot of top researchers there. Will White and Peter Lass, who's retired, and John Stevens, who's retired, are down there. So why did you go first? Where'd you go to? You went to Murdoch University out in WA, Western Australia.
Yeah. So I was cold. Tasmania is cold in terms of Australia. So yeah, I decided I wanted to go somewhere a little bit warmer. I have family over in Western Australia as well. And I got accepted into Murdoch. So I made the move over there, which was wonderful. They've got a really good program with lots of field activities as well. So you're not just sitting in the classroom, which was really great.
And then you went to Deakin. And where's Deakin? Is it in...
Deakin is in Victoria. So I came back to the colder side again.
Okay.
And I actually did my honours on Galapagos sea lions. Using the telemetry data. So I didn't get to go, but
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, were you just interested in marine science in general?
Pretty much.
Not sharks specifically, just marine science.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for sharks, but I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. So I just was like, this sounds interesting. May as well jump on and try this.
Yeah. So you did for your honors. You worked on, what was it, Galapagos sea lions? You said, or
yeah, correct.
Okay. Which Australia's a little bit far for Galapagos sea lions, but you can have that for another conversation, I guess.
Exactly.
So how did you go from the sea lions to walking sharks?
Yeah, so when I actually finished my undergrad over in WA, I was looking for something to do to try figure out what I actually wanted to do. I feel like doing volunteering is so important in trying to figure out what you actually want to do when you graduate, in terms of what you like and what you don't like. So I was doing a lot of that. And I saw an opportunity to go over to Papua New Guinea and do some volunteering over there, which was actually with sea turtles.
Okay.
Sea turtles, okay.
Yeah. But while I was over there, I got to do some diving as well. And they actually had one of the walking shark species, which I now study, over there. And I was like, I want to know more about this. And there wasn't any information. So, yeah, then I started hassling Chris. I emailed her because I saw she was on the description of this species, and I jumped into emails and I was like, hey, my name's Jess. I've just been diving in Papua New Guinea at this spot that's outside the described range. This could be a cool project that maybe you might want to work on with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the sharks.
So sorry, take that back again. So you went diving in Papua New Guinea. You saw these sharks.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to see these sharks, obviously. You knew a little bit about them. You did some research, and you say, this is outside their normal range. I'm going to email the person who's attached with describing the species and say, hey, by the way, I found this outside the range. You might be interested. This would be a cool project to study. That's what you did, essentially?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's fabulous.
Well, you have awesome. To find your gap. And there was a big research gap. So
that's a huge research gap. And so what was her response?
So at the time, Chris, I think she was based at University of Queensland mostly at that stage. But she didn't have the capacity to take on a PhD student at that point. Okay. So I ended up volunteering with her and doing some photo ID work with the leopard sharks or zebra sharks.
Oh, we'll get into this. Can I just pause you? We're talking about Dr. Christine Dudgeon, who's she's a professor at the university up there.
I think she's a senior researcher. I don't think she's quite a professor, but
anyway,
she's up there.
And just as a sneak peek, Christine's going to be coming up on the next episode after this one, so keep that to ourselves. And so, but just make sure everybody knew who we're talking about. So anyway, go ahead.
So Chris didn't quite have the capacity in her position to take on a PhD student. So while we were waiting for her to have the availability and time to hopefully take me on, I did some work with her on the leopard shark population in Australia, working on their photo ID database and just getting that all uploaded because there was a lot of old photos that needed uploading. And then same thing with the Thailand population. I uploaded a bunch of that information for her. And then somewhere in this time, COVID happened. I moved to Queensland and there was a bit of a gap, a few years of waiting for this PhD position to be open. But in 2023, finally, we locked it in and I started.
What were you doing during those years? I mean, that's got to be a tough thing. You know what you want to start. the people are ready. I assume there's funding for that at that point. I'm impatient when it comes to these kind of things. So I just wanted to know, like, especially with COVID, not knowing when it was going to end, knowing the severity, especially in Australia where they would close down on a regular basis, just like here in Canada. What was that feeling like for you to like kind of put things on pause because of the pandemic?
Yeah, the pandemic was pretty stressful. I was actually living in Melbourne when it happened. So we had the longest lockdown in the world, basically. Mm-hmm. So that was not fun. I, like many people doing studies, was working in hospitality to supplement my income and make sure I could pay the bills at the same time as doing my honours. So basically in that time I just ended up working in hospitality. I didn't get to do too much fun research. But
was there ever a point where you were like, this may not happen because of the pandemic, just because of things moving around?
I mean, I'm a pretty relaxed person. Like, I can get stressed, but I feel like if it's going to happen, it will happen. And, you've got to do other things in the meantime, then you've got to do other things in the meantime, but you just have to keep at it and hope that it comes to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good for you. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, stressful, but.
Yeah.
So you're working on doing this leopard shark ID. Now, can I ask you, why do they call them like leopard sharks versus zebra sharks?
Yeah, so when they're born, so leopard sharks, they lay eggs, and when they hatch from their eggs, they're striped, which is why you guys call them zebra sharks. They're striped like a zebra. And then as they grow, their color patterns kind of morph into more leopard-like spots. So that's why we call them leopard sharks.
Okay.
And of course, the scientific name is Stegostoma tigrum, which is the tiger shark.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a very confused shark, in my opinion.
It is.
Yes. They are pretty sharks. I'll say that, but they're just kind of confused. We have the leopard shark here in California, the true leopard shark, in my opinion, which is a completely different family. It's in the hound shark groups, Trichus semifasciata, and so it's always a back and forth when I hear tiger shark, leopard shark, whatever.
Yeah, it always gets confusing with a common name.
Yeah.
So another little bit of trivia, but the juveniles, as you mentioned, are striped when they're born. They were actually described as a different species.
I can see that.
They're so strikingly different. They were actually had been described as separate species. And it was only when people actually, I think, had them in captivity and saw them actually growing up, is where they figured out, like, hey, these things are actually the same species. So it's a little bit of trivia for people out there.
Yeah. And interestingly, the walking sharks do the same thing. They're striped when they hatch, and then they grow into their color patterns.
What can you tell people out there the I mean, I think it's really fascinating, the whole walking shark thing in Papua New Guinea, because you have all these different species, they're very limited distribution. Can you just kind of, for everybody listening here, give a quick overview on what exactly, when you talk about these, what do you do?
So normally when I do a talk to students or whoever, I kind of start off with, you think of walking sharks, you think of Bruce from Finding Nemo, he's grown legs, he's walked on land. It's like, oh no, like Sharknado kind of.
Yeah.
It's stressful. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about like these little sharks that kind of come up onto the coral reefs and they use their fins to walk. And the most famous of them is the epaulet shark from the Great Barrier Reef. And I feel like most people who have watched any David Attenborough has probably seen the clip of this little shark coming up and walking at low tide. And that's the epaulet shark from Australia. And in addition to that one, we actually have 9 other species, which most people don't.
Wow, I did not know there were 9 other
Yeah.
species. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a total of 10 species in this genus, which is really exciting. And they're only found in northern Australia and around the island of New Guinea. So that's Papua New Guinea and West Papua in Indonesia, and then also Halmahera and the Aru Islands.
Okay.
And each of these species have like distinctive color patterns that you can use to tell them apart. And they've all got quite distinctive distributions. And yeah, in Papua New Guinea, we have officially, as of a month ago, 4 species in Papua New Guinea, with 3 of those species found in Milne Bay, which is the very eastern tip of Papua New Guinea.
And now all of these things here, and we'll talk about the one you just described in a moment, but all of these walking sharks have a very limited distribution to like just really like some bays and short stretches of coastline. That opens up all kinds of weird questions about why are they so have such
so site restricted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a few different hypotheses on it. The main thought is these animals are, less than a meter in length, so they're pretty small. So, like 3 feet.
Yeah.
And then they are quite site restricted, so they don't really. It's thought that they don't really cross depths of over 200 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So they're quite restricted to the shallow water. And then they're also egg laying, similar to the leopard shark. So they kind of deposit their eggs on the seafloor. So all of these factors together kind of make them quite restricted to one location. Mm-hmm. And then they're also associated with just coral reefs and seagrass beds and mangrove systems. So they're fairly habitat restricted as well. And then the thought on their non-overlapping distributions that are quite distinct is because of these factors, they're quite influenced by the deep water barriers. And then also things like really large freshwater outflows causing a break in their habitat can cause a break in the species distributions as well. So they're kind of like the main reasons why we think they have these quite small distributions.
What's the most like the Australia? How many? You just have the one species in Australia, is that correct?
No, we have 2.
Oh, you have 2.
Oh,
okay.
cool.
Yeah, we have 2. So we have the epaulet shark on the east coast, which is on the Great Barrier Reef. And then we also have Hemiscyllium trispecula, or I think the common name is the spotted walking shark. It's on the west coast of Australia, and it kind of goes from Darwin along down to the Ningaloo Reef.
Okay.
Okay.
So
the northwest area.
But they don't overlap at all.
Currently, we don't have any information that they overlap.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's something that we want to look into in the future, but we've got to work with traditional owners to kind of work in that area, which is obviously a really amazing thing to be able to do. But, that's down the line, hopefully for postdoc.
Yeah, for sure.
But
this is what I love. Sorry, David, I didn't mean to cut you off. This is what I love about these types of sharks. There's not a lot of. It seems like there's not a lot known about their ranges, right? Just as in terms of how this PhD came. And I love how you answer. It's like, yes, we don't know yet because they could overlap for all we know. We have no idea, and I assume you're getting into pretty remote places in certain spots in Australia, and it's like you said, it's going to be interesting to build those relationships with traditional owners and stuff. And I think that's really cool. But this is what I love about looking at sharks and doing this podcast, because every time we have somebody here, it's like, yeah, we're not going to say that they overlap or that they don't overlap. It's because we haven't figured it out yet. We just don't know.
Definitely. So like the work that we've been doing for my PhD basically stemmed off the information we had from doing the volunteering at the conflict islands, that there was a shark species outside of its known range. So we wanted to do exploratory surveys to look into that more. And the first big trip we did, so I also work with Mark Erdman, Dr. Mark Erdman. And Kathy Townsend, as well as one of my other supervisors. So we all went on this big trip on a boat all throughout Milne Bay in November 2023 to kind of look at part of the known area, but also outside of the known distribution, to kind of get a bit more information on what was happening and update those distributions, because they do have small distributions. And we kind of left the conflict islands, and there's this big, it's actually a massive shipping channel, but it's this big deep water barrier, and it drops down to, I think, over 500 meters, maybe over 1,000 meters in depth.
Yeah.
So quite deep. And there's another group of islands called the Du Bois Islands. And a lot of our friends who work at the conflict islands actually are from those islands as well. And we were doing some snorkeling at nighttime, because that's when these sharks are more active. And really excitingly, I was in the water with Chris Dudgeon again, and Chris grabs a shark, because we just pick them up and bring them back to the boat because they're not bitey sharks. And so she grabbed it. We swam back to the dinghy where we had a bucket of fresh seawater to place the animal in before we take the information we need from it. And I got in the boat first, and Chris passes me the shark. And I was like, Chris, it's different. And she's like, what? And I was like, it's not Michaeli. Like, I think this is Haustromi. And Haustromi is the species, the Papuan walking shark. And that one's the one that's actually meant to be found up towards Port Moresby.
Oh, okay.
So this was really far from the known range of that species, and we had no indication that this is what we were going to be finding. So
just to give people context, how far is Port Moresby from where you were?
So I would say probably over 800 kilometers.
That's a distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's just being a little bit crazy. Hang on a second.
No worries. No worries. We are a dog-friendly podcast, a pet-friendly podcast.
He just needs attention.
Hey,
buddy. There he is.
Let's pick him up a little bit so we can get a look at him. Hey.
This is Kenny.
Is he like a bully mix, or?
He's a blue Staffy.
Oh, look at him.
Yeah.
He's adorable.
Yes. He is very needy.
Yes.
And he often gets jealous when I'm talking to the computer. Like, why?
He's like, why can't they pet me? Why can't they pet me? I don't understand.
Good.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But yes, the species that we found further past the conflict islands, was completely different in color pattern, and was very similar to the Papuan walking shark. So we were really excited about that.
That is exciting, yeah.
But we weren't sure if it was going to be a crossover zone for the two species where we could find both the species. But after a few more surveys, we basically found that at these group of islands, it was just the Papuan species. And then we went over another deep water barrier to a place called the Rossel Islands. It's the furthest eastern island in Milne Bay. It's way, way off in the distance. If you look at the map, it's a tiny little dot at the very end. And we did a couple of surveys there, and we found Michael's walking shark, which was the main species that we had been working on. Kenny, stop.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
No worries.
So we were at the Russell Islands.
Yes, the Russell Islands, yes.
And we again found Michael's walking shark out there. So that's after another deep water barrier. And that's kind of brought up all these questions about the distribution, because with all of the other species, particularly the ones found in West Papua, they all have these really distinct distributions that don't overlap at all. Mm-hmm. And now we've found overlapping but not co-occurring. So it's raised so many questions.
I can imagine.
Did you recognize right away that based on the color pattern that it was a different species? Like, well, you said you did when you got it up in the boat. Chris was like, "Oh my God, it's a different species or something." So you kind of knew right. It was one of those moments you really knew, like, okay, this is something different. Now, just so people know, these sharks, they're really some of the prettiest sharks I can think of as far as a group goes. But there's almost no morphological differences besides the color pattern and genetics. Correct?
Yeah, correct. So color pattern and where they're found is kind of the main key to figuring out which one you're looking at. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, like, you preserve some of these things, and I don't know if you probably looked at some of the museum specimens when you did your thing, and they probably all look kind of a drabby brown or something with poor coloration. Now,
they do have some of the defining features do still come out even in some of the specimens that have been preserved for 200 years, but it is very faint.
Yeah. Okay. So you got this thing, and so you got this shark, and you realized it was something new. So what did you do next? What was the next step?
The next step, we actually went back to the main boat and woke up Mark. So Mark was asleep at this point, and he got excited and came and did some surveys and took some pretty pictures.
Okay.
And then so basically when we catch the sharks, we collect some morphological information. We collect a fin clip. So we take a little clip for the genetics from its dorsal fin. And then we also take a cloacal swab to kind of see what they've been eating, hopefully. And then we take photos of them, and then we release them. Okay. So we're just trying to collect as much information as possible because there is no information.
Yeah, but now when you went to describe this thing, you had to get some specimens for preservation.
Yeah, so that's actually in a different location. So that was on a different trip. So same thing happened. Chris passed me a shark on a boat, and I said, "Chris, this is something different." And she's like, "Again?" Which was pretty cool. But yeah, so this one was at the Amplet Islands, which is just north of the Tiantricasta Islands. It's still in the Milne Bay province. And this one has all of these small, like, white dots and dashes along it, which is pretty unique for this genus. Like, it's not similar to anything else, really.
So, now, was this similar to the one you'd already collected, or was this one also different?
So this one was different. So the one that we saw on the first trip was actually just a range extension, basically.
Okay.
Of the species that's found in Port Moresby. Okay. And then on a trip last year in March, we were doing the same thing, diving and snorkeling to find these sharks. And again, it was me and Chris passed me this animal and saw it in the light, and I was like, "Chris, this is like it's pretty funny because as soon as she passed it to me, I knew it was different to Michael's walking shark, which is the main species that I work on.
Yeah,
and just completely different in color pattern, and we got really excited. We only found one that night though. So we ended up staying for a few days and trying to find some more.
So you're able to see, so you basically got, so far you got one new species that you just described. And so can you talk to us about how that whole process, like when you had this thing, you decided, okay, I'm going to describe this, and all the students out there, the grad students listening, listen carefully. How this is, if you want to butter up one of your professors on your committee, listen carefully. Okay.
Yes, it is a good way to butter up, to name a new shark after one of your supervisors. But yeah, so basically we caught these sharks. We ended up having to collect some specimens for the taxonomic description, which is not really my favorite thing as somebody who wants to conserve sharks. You don't really like having to euthanize any. But unfortunately, we have to have museum specimens for long-term preservation. So we ended up collecting 3 specimens, which I think it was 2 males and 1 female. And then basically we had to take more detailed morphometrics in line with the other species descriptions in this genus. And then we basically had to take these animals back to Australia. We put two are currently in Australia, and then the other one, my dog is being crazy.
I'm picturing, is he just going around and around trying to figure out what's comfortable?
He was literally just doing zoomies in circles, chasing his tail. Buddy. I don't know if you could hear him like.
Yeah, we can hear it a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's all good. It's so funny. It's so cute. Yeah.
It's normally not this bad.
Hey, it's his day. It's his day to do the zoomies.
He wants to be famous.
Absolutely.
But yes, it's definitely a process doing the taxonomic description. I worked with Jerry Allen for that as well.
Yep.
And basically he also got x-rays done of the 2 individuals that are in Australia. One is at the Queensland Museum and one is at the museum in WA. And then one is also at the University of Papua New Guinea in their collection as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And what's it like for you to be like part of your PhD, you describe a species? Like that's a pretty big accolade.
Cool.
Is it not? That's a big deal.
It is very cool. It's not something I thought would happen in my PhD, and it's very exciting to be involved with that. It's pretty cool.
So what point did you decide you're going to name it after your professor?
So we had a bit of a conversation about it, not with Chris. Mark, Jerry, and myself had a bit of a conversation, and Chris, for people who don't know or who will get to know her in the next episode, Chris has been working in this field for 20 plus years. She's a geneticist, and she is just a wonderful, amazing human. So we really wanted to give her kind of her flowers for all the work that she does. And this is kind of like, one of the nicest ways that you can do it. And she's actually one of the very few female scientists that have a shark named after her. Like, I think it's Eugenie Clark, Shannon Corrigan, and then I think there's maybe 1 or 2 others, and then Chris. So it's very rare for female shark scientists to have.
Well, Dominic Didier, we named a shark after, as a colleague and good friend, very accomplished with ghost sharks. I know we named one, but you're right. There's not like a lot. I have to think. That's a great question. I don't even know what the answer is off the top. I could think of some of the people you mentioned, but
I think it's quite low. Like, I believe it's under 10.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
quite like, and
Yeah.
then you think of the male scientists with
counterparts.
things named after them, and there's quite a few.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's kind of nice to, you know, do something nice for another woman in science as well. And
Absolutely.
you know,
It was very deserving and stuff, but I'm sure it was a good way to get help out with your thesis too. So it's definitely a big accolade to have something named after you like that. So so actually I just thought of another one. Actually, I named the shark after my niece. So it's
really?
Nice.
yeah, I forgot how to forget about that one. Sorry, Lana. Yeah, Lana saw shark. Forgot about that one. So anyway, cool.
Nice.
Well, that's really nice of you to do. And just for the people out there, know Chris Dudgeon's going to be on our next episode. We'd already planned to invite her on the show, and then I saw literally the same day we'd invite her on. I saw Jess's paper come out, and I thought this would be a great idea to have you come on and share your story about finding this. These are cool sharks. I don't think I've ever seen any in the wild myself, but definitely a fun group to work on because you can actually see them alive and diving.
Yeah.
So
that is pretty cool.
That's
and you get to dive on beautiful coral reefs.
Yeah, okay, don't rub that in. That's right. Rub that in. So,
and it's like 28 to 30 degrees in the water, like Celsius, in comparison to diving in Tasmania, where it's 13 degrees. So it's nice to go warm up.
Yeah. So I gotta share the story with everybody because Jess and I were talking before the air. Like my first time, growing up, like a lot of people, I wanted to go diving in the Great Barrier Reef. And the first time I went to Australia, I went to Tasmania, and my first dive in Australia was in Tasmania in a kelp forest in about 10 degrees centigrade water, which if I want to do that, I live here in Monterey. So I could have just gone out here in Monterey where I grew up and just gone diving in 10 degrees Celsius water with kelp beds in there. So for me, it was a little bit of I don't say letdown.
Didn't have to fly across the world.
Yeah, I fly over to Australia and I end up like in there. So thanks to Will White, Peter Last. Thanks, guys, for that memorable experience. Anyway, well, Jess, this has been really terrific hearing this story about your discovery of this white shark. I got a white shark in my head. Anyway, I'm the wrong guy. I know I'm like a lost shark guy. I don't want to think white shark. Anyway, this walking. I was meant to say walking shark. So I got the W right. It's really great story. And so now, just to kind of finish up here for this episode, what are you you're working on your last chapter now? And then
I'm trying to smash out 3 chapters at once.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There you go.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. Because why not? So yeah, I'm meant to hand in April.
Okay.
So currently just trying to get the writing and the analysis done. And we also have another trip in October planned to collect postdoc data.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Okay. So
just
the
trying to do
plan's in
everything at
place.
once.
Yeah.
You're laying the groundwork for your postdoc. That's great.
Good for you.
So good
for you.
Students listening out there, that's how you do it. You start laying the groundwork for the next step. That's great.
Yeah,
And of course, you accidentally find these new species of sharks every time you go snorkeling. Helps too.
That sounds like it. Sounds like it. Anyway, Jess, thanks so much for coming on today. And we'll definitely going to have you back maybe after you get your PhD done, you get settled into a postdoc. Once you plan to come back on and share with us what you're up to.
Love that. That'd
Sounds
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank
That'd be
you.
great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess, for joining us on today's episode of the Beyond Jaws podcast. Dave, walking sharks are cool. It seems like there's more than we ever thought there were. And it seems like Jess is the key to finding new species, Jess and Chris, because they just keep picking them up and just finding that, hey, this is new, this is new, this is new. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's great. But we got to give a shout out to Kenny, our unexpected guest on the show today.
Kenny is Jess's dog, and you probably heard, whether you're on audio or you're listening to this on video, you probably heard us talk about Kenny throughout the episode, because I decided we're going to keep it in because I think it's fun. We love having dogs on the podcast, and he had a little bit of zoomies as he was going through the episode. He was excited about walking sharks. He wanted to walk around and be like, is this how they walk? Is this how they walk?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that was some of the best parts of the story. He said every time they were out to this area they really hadn't surveyed before, they kept pulling up a new shark. It was like, hey, here's one. And she goes, damn it, it's another new shark and stuff. So which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Because usually, as I've explained before, you get those moments where, like Jess explained, where you're like, wow, this is something new.
Yeah.
But more often than not, you're kind of going like, hey, I'm not sure. It might be new. It may be
Right.
new. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, so it's kind of cool when you actually get one you're like, yeah, this is definitely a new species like that, and there's a lot of excitement there.
Well, I think what's interesting too about, because like I've always been told, when I was a student, I'll never forget this. Like people were like, don't just focus on the exterior, like the coloring.
Yep.
You could focus on like some of the morphology, and sometimes that includes like the ridges or coloring and things like that. And also, as we get more and more towards genetics, the genetics count. But it seems like walking sharks, it is some of the designs and the colors and the spots or non-spots and things like that on the sharks. Is that unique to sharks in general?
No, this is actually because some sharks, in fact, a number of them, they'll change as with growth. Well, we talked about the zebra / leopard shark. And as we mentioned during the show, like, they change color from when they're born to when they grow up. And it's the birth size where they got the name sort of leopard shark.
Right.
And then as they grow, they change the more of a spotting pattern. And so, yeah, it color it's a character you can use, but it shouldn't be the only one.
You shouldn't rely only on it, right?
But on these walking sharks, and on the other group I'll mention, the shy sharks in South Africa, are the same thing. When you measure them up, and with the shy sharks, I've done a lot of those. You can't really tell them apart morphologically, but the color you can usually separate them on. And these walking sharks the way you can tell them apart is by the coloration. And there's no real good characteristics that they can use other than genetics, and I think genetics and geography. And I think there's one other character.
I think she said coloring, wasn't it? I think that's what she said.
Color was the main one. Yeah, color, genetics, and geography were really the three main ways to tell them apart.
So in other words, they all look alike from a morphological perspective, from like a body shape perspective, but the coloring might be different. I think that's really fascinating. I wonder what that evolutionary tree looks like for them as they went along.
It's a fascinating group because, as we talked about in the show, particularly around Papua New Guinea and that area, they have really restricted ranges. I mean, like some are like in a bay and maybe a little bit along the coast, but they're really restricted. They don't seem to overlap a lot. A few of them have a little bit of an overlap, and the other ones they just don't know. Yeah. And so it's kind of from an evolutionary standpoint, it's a super interesting area of the world. We have this little group of sharks. Again, the only ones I could think that would be kind of close would be the shy sharks in South Africa, which there's 3-4 species there. And they all occupy a narrow range of coastline, and that's it pretty much. And
I wonder, just being around these islands, and knowing how old sharks are, and I don't know how old these types of sharks are, if they go back, millions of years or things like that. I wonder if, just being the isolation may have just, because they're in such these bays and island areas, and if those if it is millions of years, were some of those islands submerged and then they got isolated that way, different coastal morphology changes and earthquakes and things like that could change their habitat, and they just get isolated. And I wonder if there's any divergence within the same species to see how they differ genetically. A lot of questions that people can do a lot of research on.
It's a great group to work on. Like you said, because they're isolated by depth or rivers, and they're where they occur. They're isolated, so they can't, because they're so coastal. It's not like they're swimming out at 100 meters or so. I think most of them are less than 50 meters maximum depth. So they don't. And when you're on an island, you got hundreds of meters depth around you. You're not likely to be able to cross those areas unless you can get up and swim. And these things don't appear to be the type of sharks that are going to be doing any kind of distance swimming.
Yeah.
And so yes, I think you'd have to know something about. Well, I'm sure that people do know what the evolutionary history is of those islands, when they separated, when they broke up, and you could probably, with the genetics, like you look at a time clock, a geologic time clock, and see when they developed and when these things may have diverged and radiated into different species. But again, there's mainly the genetics, the color, and where they occur. That's the only way you can tell them apart, which is super interesting.
It's very fascinating. That'd be an interest of mine for sure, just to find out what these things are doing. Plus, diving and snorkeling in Papua New Guinea is not half bad, right?
No,
like I don't think it's a bad place.
I think we should do a show from Papua New Guinea.
I think so.
We'll have to see if we get it. We'll have to see if we get an invitation from somebody we know that's working over there.
That would be phenomenal. All right, we'll wrap this up because I know we could talk about this forever. But Jess, thank you so much for indulging us in our curiosity and learning about these beautiful sharks and sharing your knack for discovering new ones as well as your research. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to have you back on. We're going to share her social media connections in the show notes, so you can check that out. Ours will be there as well. Dave, if people want to connect with you and see all your stuff doing, you just let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm just a Lost Shark Guy on Instagram and Lost Shark Guy on YouTube. Check them out, and please follow both, and you can always message me that way.
That's right, and check out the your series that we've been working on together. What do you want to name that so people can go check it out?
Series on the YouTube channel at Lost Shark Guy. The series is Searching for Lost Sharks, Extinct or Alive, and it's a series Andrew and I are really proud of, and Denise Sotomayor has been filming it for us. And please check it out, and please like.
All right, wonderful. This is great. So thank you so much for joining us. If you want, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let us know what you think about this interview in the comments and about zebra sharks, as well as if you're listening to this on the audio version, please follow on your favorite podcast app. And thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Beyond Jaws podcast. From Dave and I, have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.